Hey gang, Cheryl Todd here from Gun Freedom Radio, and I am super excited to have grabbed a few minutes of Carrie Lightfoot's time here at the 2018 SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, the reason that I wanted to talk to Carrie is because we've been seeing over the last few years, and I have to believe that Carrie is a huge part of being responsible for this, an influx of women coming into the shooting sports, coming into understanding that they are their own first responders and carrying concealed, and also being very involved in protecting their rights. And so this year, Carrie is among the few women that have been included as nominees with the NRA Board of Directors. And so I wanted to touch base with her and just kind of, find out what she thinks about all of that. That is a huge deal, right?
Isn't it awesome?
It is awesome, and I'm so excited.
It's one of the things I just love seeing is, and I didn't expect it, because I really didn't know. When I started the Weller Woman, I didn't know what to expect. But one of the things that has just been thrilling is seeing women not only become energized and empowered to be their own self-protectors.
Absolutely.
But seeing them light up in political action, and getting involved in protecting the Second Amendment. And I'm so excited. We have a great roster of women who have been nominated for the board. And the times are changing. And so the what was once a male-driven conversation, the Second Amendment conversation, is now including so many women. And I think we are really going to be responsible for changing or influencing what happens, because women are pretty influential and pretty powerful. So when we get charged up about something, we make stuff happen, right? And
it's so cool. True. I mean, you even have a saying about that, right? Like if you want to get something done, ask a woman to do it. Exactly.
Guys get things done too, but women, I don't know. We're pretty driven to make sure.
We are, and it's interesting when you talk about how not only are women coming in, and where it's just been sort of like this male-driven conversation for so many years, it's also been pigeonholed, the Second Amendment. It's been pigeonholed as strictly like a conservative and Republican idea. Right. And I am sure with the huge spectrum of ladies that come to the Well-Armed Woman for training, that you are seeing
oh my goodness, everything.
Independents, Democrats, progressives, liberals, like every possible end of the spectrum politically, right?
You're so right. And, self-protection and our right to protect ourselves, that's a human right. And that's not connected to, a political
ideology or
there's some consistencies, right? But, it's really amazing when I see the diversity of the women, and that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Because we really want to start to diminish this division that's happening.
Yes. Like
it's right or left or Republican or Democrat, and it's about a human right of self-protection, and that just it's its own thing. And so there's this place where we can all come together and agree and not become divided by political leanings.
Exactly. So I wanted to just ask you a few questions. What would you say when you're looking at this new role that hopefully you get to take on, right? If you're elected to the board, the NRA Board of Directors, what would you say uniquely qualifies you for that?
That's a really great question. Although I really want to represent all gun owners. So, my platform or who I am isn't all about women, but that's been my experience. That's my world in this industry is surrounded by millions of gun-owning women.
So literally millions. You're not even exaggerating.
No, and there's, I don't know what the numbers are, 15, 20 million women in this country.
Yeah.
That's a guess, that I've heard put out there. That's a lot of women, and so although I'm wouldn't only be representing just women, I think one of the things that I bring that's unique is the women's perspective, the regular, everyday woman. who has come to gun ownership for self-protection, which is the largest. I mean, that's the main reason. Women come for all sorts of reasons, but the main reason really is that need to be able to protect ourselves. And so I think I know who that woman is. Yeah. Not only am I one, but as I said, I'm just surrounded by them, and I know what's important to them. I know what they want, and I think I bring that voice, and I do think that that's unique. We have other women, but my whole focus is really the self-defense, avenue. Absolutely. And so I think that's one of the unique things I think that I bring.
So would you say that you deal mostly in the Well-Armed Woman with women who are fairly proficient, but they just want maybe that social connection, or they want a few extra skills? Or would you say that you deal primarily with women who maybe the day before they came to a Well-Armed Woman meeting thought, guns are not a part of my life,
right?
I don't need one, I don't want one, or is it a blend?
Really interesting. In the very beginning, when I first started, I would have very easily answered that with the new woman shooter, because there wasn't anything for the woman who was just curious, and so that was who we saw kind of coming through the door, if you will. But I have to answer that differently now, because there's been this evolution, and I think that now, there are women that are extremely well trained, right, and just want to stay current, and then there's women that are proficient and looking for more, looking to go to the next step. So it isn't just the new shooter; it's really all women. And I think one of the great things that the Well-Armed Woman provides is that really comprehensive resource. Absolutely. Where they can go to get the products that work for them and the information that works for them at any stage of that journey. And so it's an exciting thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is maybe a little difficult question to answer, because I'm not even sure how I would answer it, because it's so impactful in my life, in my idea of how I want to leave the world when it's my turn to pass it on to the next generation. But what does the Second Amendment mean to you, and why is it important to you to protect and preserve this part of the Bill of Rights?
Boy, I mean, really, for me and for the women that I'm surrounded with all day, the Second Amendment is that equalizer. It's independence, it's freedom, it's empowerment, it is our equalizer. And I think that for women who have historically been the protected gender, we've been protected by the men in our worlds, or at least we had that's what we thought.
Right, that was the facade that we lived under. Right. Not that men aren't good protecters, but I don't know why we would abdicate that in the way that we have in past generations.
And I think there's been that awakening. Yeah. I think that's part of why we see this rush, so many women coming in, is that realization. But it is life or death. Right. I mean, it is rape or no rape. Right. And, that is the most, it's an impossible thing to understand, and it's our greatest fear, is being so out of control and being dominated or being hurt or being killed, or for our children. I mean, we have our children now. Absolutely. And so that's how important it is. Yeah. This isn't just some political thing and let's just talk what we think. This gets down to that place where I either am allowed, well, I hate to use that word because the government isn't allowing it. So I either am equipped to literally protect myself, right? The bad guy or me, or I'm not. And that's what the Second Amendment, that's what it's about for so many women. I know it includes a lot of other things too. Yeah. But it's just so important. And to me personally, I have been a victim of violence. And when you get to that place where you're like, this will never, ever, ever happen to me again. Right. The firearm, not only my confidence, but the firearm is the only tool that I can say that with conviction, where I know I will never let that happen again. Do you know what I mean? 100%. And so it's so important. And so I think protecting it, we have to protect it. We all have to be engaged. And so I think, I was surprised by the nomination. I didn't know. There was no conversation ahead of time. I didn't know it was coming.
Oh, wow.
And so it kind of hit me. It was like, but it's an opportunity to make sure that we protect that. And I'm so passionate about it. I'm so passionate about it on behalf of other women. I will do whatever I need to do, to protect that. And who better to do that with than the NRA? I mean, they are, and I've been using it, I love this, they're our shield. They are our shield up on the front lines. And I'll tell you what, there's no place I'd rather be than arm in arm with them on that front line, protecting our rights for all of us.
Absolutely. And I think also, I mean, there's such a misconception, I think, of what the NRA really does. But you and I both know that, you have this training organization, and the NRA has so many educational and training opportunities that really the two of your mindsets and brands, if you want to call it that, really do go hand in hand.
And we align on a couple of levels. It is on the political, right? I mean, on having to defend and protect and preserve our Second Amendment, but on the training front too. Absolutely. Because at the core, those are the two things. That's what we're all about. Is that right? And the skills and the training and the tools to do that. The equipment, the holsters, the firearms. How do I pick one? All of that. And so the educational side of what the NRA does is so amazing. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I'm really, really excited. Something on the Second Amendment thing because that I want to hit on that's really important because we kind of hit on it for a second. And that's, the Second Amendment isn't a right that the government allows us. We don't have the permission of the government. Right. And so I think that's an area where I think a lot of people maybe don't understand or need to maybe understand better. I agree with you. This is a right. Our government isn't allowing it. And so when there are assaults on those rights legislatively, we have to really, really, really be careful. Right. Because the more we legislate it, the more it becomes a government-given right. Exactly. And that's what's scary, because it's not a government-given right. They protected it as a right that is free from government infringement. And so the more we touch this thing, the more it becomes a right that they have allowed us. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's so important that I think that we understand that.
They culturally and socially, whoever the they is in this conversation, right, have switched it on us. Right. They flipped it upside down, where we do feel like we're asking for permission. Right. And that is so not true. And I know that is something that your instructors teach and help to realign that just by the very nature of touching the lives of the women that you're interacting with.
And it opens up that dialogue and the chance to educate them, because there's a huge difference between a right and what's what I'm thinking of, and a privilege. Yeah. They're two different things. Exactly. Owning a gun isn't a privilege, it's a right. Driving a car, that's a privilege.
Right. But everybody would almost think it's the opposite.
Right, and a lot of times they try to connect those things. Well, you have to have a license to drive a car, and it's like, well, the government legislates that. They give us permission if we pass a test and if we do these things. Exactly. Second Amendment right, any of the Bill of Rights. That's a whole other conversation. And so I kind of went on that, but that's an important thing.
An important one to go on about. So should you be elected, what experiences would you bring to help make future policy within the NRA as a board member?
Well, it's kind of intimidating. This is the largest. Yeah. This is the largest lobbying organization and educational organization in the firearms industry. But I'm always up for a challenge. But
I know this about you.
I've been blessed with an awful lot of experience, nonprofit experience. And so I understand how boards work, and I understand the politics, and I understand the dynamics, and I understand the dance. So I have experience in doing that, and so I think that's a huge. I'm very glad I have that. I mean, that's really helpful. And my business skills, I've had a lot of experience in different entrepreneurial endeavors, and so that also helps me maybe bring a little bit of the industry to it. Of the understanding of what it takes to be a business owner in this industry, and bring that voice to the table. And also nonprofit. I have run a nonprofit organization for the homeless and people struggling with poverty. I started the first charter school in the state of Arizona, designed it, led the team, was its first president, and signed on the dotted line.
Oh my gosh.
So I have that experience of kind of working through
Talk about a political arena.
Yeah. Oh, education, boy. Yeah. That is a whole nother world.
If you did that, the rest of this is going to be a cakewalk.
And our nonprofit, the Well Women Shooting Chapters, we've grown into the largest organization in the country. Actually, was that even at 3 years old. I've built that to an organization that's in every state of the country but one, with almost 400 chapters across the country.
Who's the holdout? We need
South
to get
Dakota.
on
I know they have a booth here, so I'm going to come talk to them. South Dakota's the one holdout, but
we got to go talk to them.
So bring those experiences, and I do understand how that all works. I understand board dynamics, and I know how to. I know dance. Important. I know that dance. Yeah. And I think I have really good relational skills. I'm good at relationship building. I love people. I'm very genuine. I try to, I'm always trying to be very approachable, and it's important. It's so important that the regular, everyday American have a voice, and not that I'm the only voice, but that's the voice that I would carry with me, is just a regular American person who wants to protect the Second Amendment right, wants to make sure people are educated, and so.
Well, I'm always such a fan of stories that help portray to us what one person can do. Now, I know you've got a great team around you and that sort of thing, but it started with an idea you had, an area of frustration that you had that you wanted to solve for yourself, and you thought, well, if I have this, then others do too.
Exactly. Were you in my head when that was happening?
I think so.
That's what I'm saying.
But so often what we hear and what we even say to ourselves is, well, I'm only one person, right? But you flipped that on its head and you said, well, I'm only one person, but why would that stop me? Right? And so you put one foot in front of the other, and here we are. Are we 5 years in, did you say?
We're just finished the 4th year.
Oh my gosh. See, that's incredible. To make the inroads that you have, to draw the women to you that you have, in the millions. That is an incredible story.
It just shows the need was there.
Absolutely.
I just created the place. I just created put the light on it, and tried to welcome women, and they've just been like flooding in. I love it.
So if you are successfully elected to the board, what is one area you would like to be instrumental in changing or growing within the NRA, and how might you make that happen?
A couple of things. One is just the misperception that the world has about gun owners. We've totally blown out the mold. I mean, they've created a mold, and they keep trying to use that mold to show the world who gun owners are. And so we've smashed that with a sledgehammer.
Absolutely.
And so educating, being a part of educating the citizenry of who the American gun owner is, and the importance of the Second Amendment right, and the differences between a privilege and a right. I think part of that would be something that I would really like to be a part of. And I'd really like to be a part of expanding this whole dialogue further with women, and empowering them, and working to create the pathway or the bridge for women to become engaged in the conversation, because we have so much to say. So just to create that, I don't know, just create that place where all Americans, not just women, can feel like, okay, I'm a regular Joe or Joanne, and I have something to say, and how do I get my